World news, World Star. Sweden is being allowed into NATO. Or more accurately, Turkey's Erdogan is agreeing to back Sweden's NATO bid. Turkey has been a colossal dick in the past few months. Turkey has always been like the worst NATO ally. I hate them. They've tried to do this like Tito-esque Yugoslavian posturing as the bridge between the East and the West, where they will be an authoritarian dictatorship that maintains ties to like other authoritarian dictatorships. Not that we don't do that as well. Saudi Arabia, cough, cough. And they'll like fuck over or at least delegitimize Western efforts to expand. Even in elements where our expansion is, I think, quite warranted, like say, for example, Sweden joining NATO. They're trying to massacre the Rojavan people and destroy Kurdish independence in eastern Syria, which is not good. And we'll talk about that more in a second because that's relevant to what we're looking at right now. Basically, Turkey was blocking Sweden's entrance into NATO because Turkey didn't like the fact that Sweden and its institutions were sympathetic towards the Kurdish people. That was the gist of it, right? Correct? It was literally like the Swedish government considered the Turkish or the Kurdish independence movement in Turkey to be like not a terrorist group, and they were providing humanitarian aid. Yeah. So great, that's great. So Turkey was blocking the NATO bid because Sweden isn't evil. Well, they are evil. But they weren't being evil on this one specific issue. So after a year of blocking Sweden's NATO bid, we're now moving forward. But what has led Turkey to change their mind? Well, where is it? Sweden's NATO accession has been held up by objections from Turkey since last year, accusing Stockholm of harboring Kurdish activists and Karabakh guards as terrorists. But a joint statement issued after three-way talks stated Turkey and Sweden would work closely in counter-terrorism coordination and also boost bilateral trade ties. Oh boy. This means almost certainly compelling Sweden to extradite Kurds and Kurdish activists to face Turkish justice. Not good. Joe Biden praised the commitment by Erdogan on Sweden's NATO bid later on Monday. I want to see more details. NATO ally tier list. Turkey would be at the bottom. I want to see more details on the arrangement there. Is it literally just anti-terrorism cooperation? No more details offered than that? Hello, CNN. What do you have for me? More text? Vaush, Sweden's right-wing government, is basically turning the country into a police state. They are constantly trying to pass laws to allow the police to spy on people with no criminal suspicions. Yeah, I know we talked about this a bit before with the Dutch, but the Swedes are doing something kind of similar, where one brown person once entered their country and they haven't recovered from it yet. It always comes down to, it's the exact same fear-mongering over refugees and migrants. It's the same. It's just, it doesn't change. Give me the correct Chud Jack. Here we go. This right here, okay, is your average Scandinavian voter after seeing one light-skinned guy hit on a white woman at a McDonald's when he was on his lunch break. Okay, he's here at the voting booth, and he's ready to save the West. Erdogan wanted Sweden to ban public burning of the Quran. Cool. Sweden is considering law change to stop public Quran buildings. Aftonbladet reports. Super cool. I love the idea of like an Islamic dictatorship getting to impose religious exemptions to free speech so that they will let Sweden join our ostensibly, nominally secular mutual defense group. Erdogan is such a dick. Yep, but he won re-election. Burnings, not buildings. Did I say buildings? My apologies. Quran burnings, not buildings. Quran buildings wouldn't make sense. Yeah. Well, why don't we just kick Turkey out of NATO? The sea passages they control. There's a lot of reasons. Also, America and Westerners in general don't really mind dictatorships. It's strategic importance, you know. Erdogan has to go, man. It's not good. There's no process for expelling someone from NATO. I'm sure they could make one if they really wanted to, but no, we're not going to oust Turkey. Whatever. Look at these law changes. Turkey claims Sweden allows members of recognized Kurdish terror groups to operate, most notably the Militant Kurdistan Workers' Party, or the PKK. Sweden changed its terrorism laws earlier this year, making it a crime to be part of these groups, though that had not yet been enough for Turkey. Like, please, Turkey, we have cucked ourselves so much out to you. Isn't it funny that Sweden is pivoting to the far right because they're terrified of brown people? Meanwhile, an Islamic, like, pseudo-Middle Eastern nation is, like, dictating laws to them from the other side of, like, Central Europe. Is the line Central Europe? Europe map. If I drew a red line between Sweden and Turkey, it would cut through Central Europe, right? That's what it cuts through in my head. Yeah. Sweden, Turkey. Cuts through Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Bulgaria. Yeah. That's Central Europe. Yeah. Billions must die. The West has fallen. Now let me restrict the fucking free speech of my citizens, my pasty, pale, blonde citizens, so that Erdogan will let us into NATO. By the way, saving the West. By the way, ethno-nat. By the way, billions must die. Politics is such a clown show, man. It's such a fucking clown show. It's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. Politics is so fucking dumb, but important. But it's so dumb. Can't they just undo the laws after joining? I guess technically, right? They're not going to be ousted from NATO. That would make Turkey so fucking mad, though. That would make them so, like, they get admitted into NATO, and then Sweden's like, PKK party, boys. Let's go! Bringing them all over. That'd be pretty funny. It's not going to happen, but it would be funny. You know, it's been a while since I've read up on the PKK. I don't actually fully remember how based they are. I'm pretty sure they're on, like, the based and cringe, like the Schrodinger's, the vibrating guitar string where they oscillate between both positions, because they've definitely done terrorism, but they're also, as I understand it, definitely trying to seek legitimate autonomy for an extremely persecuted ethnic minority. So I think this might be a broadly complicated issue. The YPG is based, though. Yeah. The YPG is yeah. They're bad, but the PYD are good. The YPG, yeah. They're one of the less based Kurdish socialist groups. Yeah, but the problem is, because what Turkey has been doing for a long time, Turkey does the same thing with the PKK that Israel does with Hamas, where if you're an advocate for Palestinian autonomy, you're automatically a part of Hamas, right? Like, Hamas does really bad shit, but, like, the problem is everything gets roped in with the PKK, and they become the scapegoat for everything good or bad that gets done, even, like, remotely in the name of Kurdish activism. Look, size, estimate 5,000 people? Like, that's, like, nothing, you know? But everything gets pinned on the PKK. It's complicated. It's complicated. Yeah, Turkey says if you're YPG or PKK, and YPG is fine. I mean, I'm sure there's complexity there as well, but Kurdish militant group in Syria and the primary component of the Syrian Democratic Forces. And they have how many people? 100K? 78,000, yeah. These are our Rojava boys. You know, there's overlapping groups, but, like, these are our boys. They're over there in eastern Syria trying to set up a safe place for Kurds. PKK bad, but PYD, YPG good. Yeah, I think that ideologically the PKK has made some good arguments, but the stuff they've said and or the stuff they've done, like the things they've done to achieve it, are often like indefensible. Revolutionary terrorism is one of those really tricky things where depending on how like thinly you thread that line, you get remembered as George Washington or you get remembered as like fucking Osama bin Laden. Um, Don't let people like Erdogan claim they're the same. They're not. No, they're not. They're distinct groups. YPG, Rojava, they're in Syria. But Turkey will treat them the same. There are also Kurds in Iran. Yeah, and Iraq. This is one of the reasons why the Kurds are one of the very rare times where I'm actually fully on board with like an ethnic independence movement, because normally stuff like that goes very poorly, and I don't necessarily think that you being a member of a like oppressed ethnic or racial group means that you should have your own country, because that's like history rarely pans out towards that being a clean solution for these sorts of problems. Oftentimes there are better solutions, but the Kurds should have had their own country. This is 100% like a Western governments drew the lines wrong kind of thing, Because like Syria is a despotic hellhole for the small portions of it that are still controlled by Assad, and basically lawless for other portions. So you have like the YPG and Rojava and shit that are trying to set up some kind of autonomous space here. But like there are Kurds in this chunk, basically. Like here. They're in Iran. And hey, remember those anti-hijab protests in Iran? The young woman who was killed by the morality police was Kurdish. Syria had Kurds. Iraq has Kurds. Turkey has tons of Kurds. And they're all like right here. And what Rojava, what the YPG has done, is that they're trying to create a safe space for Kurds over here. And what Turkey has done, because they don't want Kurds to have any kind of safe space, is they've been shelling Rojavan positions across the border. In fact, Turkey has been so aggressive in shelling Rojavan positions that they did so when there were American troops in the area. Turkey and America are both part of NATO. Can you imagine how desperately Turkey wants to kill Kurds for them to shell Rojavan positions when U.S. military personnel are stationed in the area? Insane! But it's the same with Iran, and to a lesser extent, at least now, probably in Iraq. But hey, it's not like we haven't done the same thing. When Iran and Iraq were at war with each other, we supplied chemical weapons to Saddam Hussein so he could use them not only against Iran, but he also chemically bombed Kurdish neighborhoods who were promised by Iran that they would be treated better if they lived under an Iranian regime. So the Kurdish folk within Iraq were accused by Saddam Hussein of being collaborators, and he chemically bombed their neighborhoods and committed genocide against them. And we knew about it, and we gave him the chemical weapons to do it. If Erdogan were gone, would they still go as hard on the Kurds? Maybe. It depends on who replaced him. No, yeah, Quoteth, like that kind of drawing the lines wrong. In Iraq, the Kurds have an autonomous region. Yeah, well, since Saddam Hussein, things have gotten better for the Kurds in Iraq, as I understand it. Saddam Hussein was, literally genocided them with the mass chemical weapon shelling. So in his absence, I think things have calmed down for Kurdish people in Iraq. But again, that's what Rojava is trying to do over here. They are trying to, in like the broken husk of the former Syrian state, they're trying to create something autonomous. Yeah, here's a map with positions of Kurdish people in the area. I feel like we're learning lots today. This is a nice stream. I like this. See? And if there was any sense, if there was any rhyme or reason to the drawing of the lines when the Western powers broke up the Middle East and parts of Africa, the Kurds almost certainly would have been given their own country. That would have been like a smart move, Like that would have been a reasonable thing to do, I think. Yeah, we kind of ruined the area forever. Saddam had a sign in his office that read, "God should not have created three things: Kurds, Iranians, and mosquitoes." The the Kurds were promised their own country by the Allies for their support in World War I and World War II. Were they really? I'd have to look into that. This was the ethnographic map of the Ottoman Empire. Oh, the brown section right here is the Kurds? Interesting. I don't know much at all about the Ottoman Empire. Turks, Armenians, Greeks, the Kurds, and the Arabs. Isn't it wild that, like, look at this big brown chunk right here. Like, the Kurds, that's not a small population of people. They were distinct a long time ago. The fact that they didn't get their own country is so wild. Well, where did all the Armenians go? Armenia. There was a genocide. No, the Kurds were allied with Turkish nationalists after World War I. Oh, okay, gotcha. Kurdish total population. 5.1 million. Oh, no, that's just in the Kurdistan region. The total number of people thought to be Kurdish around the world is 25 to 30 million. Because a lot of them fled because they're treated terribly in their, like, homeland. So, yeah. Wait, no, according to Wikipedia, it's 30 to 45 million. Whew! Total population in Turkey, 14.7 million. 18% of their population? It's a huge group of people. Proposal for Kurdistan? The Kurdistan region, including the Mosul province, was scheduled to have a referendum to decide its fate. There was no general agreement among Kurds on what borders of Kurdistan should be because the dispute between the area of Kurdistan and the political administration boundaries. Neither proposal was endorsed by the Treaty of the Sevres, which outlined a truncated Kurdistan in what is now Turkish territory, leaving out the Kurds of Iran, British-controlled Iraq, and French-controlled Syria. The current Iraqi-Turkish border was agreed upon in July 1926, and then it just didn't happen. Cool. Well. Yeah, the French and the British didn't want to give it the colonies. Yeah. No, if you trace stuff like this far enough back, it almost always leads to the West was a dick, you know? It almost always goes back to that.